Hey, how's it going, everyone? Recently, I've reached a roughly 300 subscribers, and I want to thank you all very much for that. So in return, and celebration of that, I'm going to show you even more Marvel drawings I've made. This time, some are character designs, and others have personality. Before we begin, I want to give a brief explanation of my style for those starting with this video. One of the things I like to do is use more than one shade of the same color, giving the costumes a little bit of complexity. Using Spider-Man, for example, I thought of using one red color and 3 different blue colors. Taking inspiration from probably Spider-Man's consistency theory, if I were to do other heroes and villains, I have to keep doing what I did to Spidey. Many of his enemies are green, which is the opposite of red, so I had the idea of swapping details I used for Spider-Man on Scorpion, for example, one of the clones of Peter Parker from Ultimate Spider-Man. This means I used 3 shades of green and 1 shade of purple-blue. Not only does it look like an armored exoskeleton, but notice how similar his eye lenses are to Spider-Man's? I think Mark Bagley drew him that way to add reflection to his character. Lastly, if you look at their logos, one is very simple and round, while the other is more complex and angular. Basically, the details on my take for Ultimate Scorpion are opposites of my Spider-Man ideas. Now, moving on to other characters, we'll start with a couple older drawings that I had yet to show in any video. I made roughly 6 concepts of Daredevil in his original yellow and red suit, experimenting with 2 shades of both, which creates a balanced scheme rather than 3 similar shades outnumbering 1 color. As the creator, so far the 6th one is the one I'm the most satisfied with. I based it on some of the more modern, complex redesigns I've seen in the MCU and expensive costume stores, while still keeping a little bit of simplicity. Early on in the comics, Matt Murdock based his costume on his father's wrestling outfit, but it didn't last for a very long time. According to Stan Lee, most readers didn't like the idea of his costume being yellow because it didn't quite fit his character as the man without fear. Some people argue that yellow can also define cowardice, which makes it ironic for a character who was made to strike fear in his enemies. By the time of issue number 7, his costume became fully red and became his standard costume. So far, I do not have any concepts of the latter suit, but I do plan on doing it in the long run. On top of that, I had an idea of creating a Spider-Man series with frequent team-ups with other heroes, starting in a light-hearted tone, so that would mean using light colors and bringing a little bit of silliness from older comics. As the cast gets mature, however, so will the tone, and therefore, the palette on some characters will change. Second, Peter Parker's family. This is his Aunt May and little sister Teresa. Years ago, Marvel created her as a CIA agent who made her debut in Amazing Spider-Man: Family Business. She ran into Peter jumping on her car as he escaped a group of gunmen and showed him a photo of her as an infant with the same parents he had. However, at the end, Kingpin ordered a villain called Mentalo to turn off the effects of the perception filter used on both Peter and Teresa, revealing her real face. Therefore, it was an ability used to make them believe she was his sister. However, in Peter Parker the Spectacular Spider-Man, Spidey and Teresa time-traveled back in the past, and the latter asked Nick Fury to help her find any records about her relations. At Richard and Mary's old safe house, Teresa found her birth certificate and a photo of her mother holding her, confirming she is Peter's biological sister. After thinking a bit, I thought, what if Teresa was left with Peter at Uncle Ben and Aunt May's? What would it be like to be Peter Parker as a big brother while balancing his life as a superhero? Maybe he could help her with her homework or play some board games with her. For Aunt May and Uncle Ben, I based them a little bit on their Ultimate designs, where they look younger than their mainstream versions, only they don't have much white hair, so some of you may not recognize them well enough. On the other hand, I'm also planning to likely change Aunt May's appearance as Peter and the cast get older. Going back to Uncle Ben, notice the note on the corner? I do plan on having Uncle Ben making small appearances in flashbacks without directly telling Peter the whole great power, great responsibility thing, while still acknowledging the source material and maintaining a little bit of influence of the story. Next, Spider-Man in his black and white Future Foundation suit. From what I've gathered about this organization, it started with Reed Richards, Mr. Fantastic, who was disappointed with Earth scientists' views of science and its applications. So he wanted to start a new institution for a better future of humanity called the Future Foundation. Spider-Man joined them because Johnny Storm, the Human Torch, was killed by aliens in Fantastic Four number 587. Before that, he recorded a projection offering his last will, which was to take his place in the Fantastic Four. Then Reed gave him a suit themed after the Future Foundation while still keeping the same spider patterns. I know I said I usually use more than one shade of the same color, but for this, it was mainly just a test. Who knows, maybe I could use it for my own Spider-Verse story, or an alternate timeline. Speaking of Spider-Man, previously I've stated that I prefer the symbiote suit with purple highlights because I became skeptical about blue highlights. Between the 1960s and 80s, whenever you saw something with a black base with blue highlights, that's supposed to be direct black. The blue parts are meant to show where light is hitting the suit. Not to mention, that's what Spider-Man's costume originally was, red and black, in the Stan Lee and Steve Ditko era. When John Romita Sr. became the artist, that's when his costume became red and blue. This color scheme was used so often, it became an iconic trait for the character. I think by the time we got to the 90s, that's when artists started using the black base and blue highlights technique to make it look dark blue or something. In fact, I can name a couple TV shows: the classic outfit from Spider-Man Unlimited, and Avengers Earth's Mightiest Heroes. Although, this didn't stop me from experiencing what it would be like to draw the black suit the old-fashioned way. Still, I was a bit skeptical about the blue, so for a while, I went with the purple color, like in the Ultimate Comics. Then one day, I came up with a design that uses a blue tone while still making it look black. Like the previous symbiote drawings, I went with an exoskeleton-like design and used 2 shades of black. But these aren't really pure black or leaning more towards gray. They're actually dark and desaturated shades of blue with highlights that are a bit more saturated. After creating this, it changed my opinion on the symbiote with a blue tint just a little bit. So, this is how I would do it if I colored the symbiote with blue. Now let's move on to Venom. He basically has the same muscle lines and black tones that Spider-Man had, with just a few changes. The most noticeable one is that he's bigger and bulkier. Menacing eyes, sharp teeth, large tongue, changed the ab lines, and added an extra line on his shin. Other than that, he mostly looks the same as how Symbiote Spider-Man looked, which is meant to symbolize the creature passing its knowledge to Eddie Brock's mind, and the wall crawler himself going head-to-head with a menacing mirror. My vision for him is, as he evolves into an anti-hero, he starts to mimic Spider-Man less and become his own character more. Now, I've been really eager to show you this one. Beetle. These 2 takes I call are 1.0 and 2.0. The first one is based on his classic green and purple outfit. Abner Jenkins wears a dark green undersuit with exoskeleton armored plating. Like most modern redesigns, I removed the trunks because they started to look silly as time went on. The 2.0 suit is based on the silver and red suit from Ultimate Spider-Man. From what I've gathered, Abner Jenkins apparently isn't Beetle in this universe, because in number 53, Peter searches for cat burglars online at the Daily Bugle, and Jenkins appears to be one of them. However, in my vision, it actually is. See, I call these 1.0 and 2.0 because I thought Jenkins of starting with the 616 suit as a prototype, then when he gets an upgraded suit, he switches to his ultimate suit. While different, They have a few similarities to keep a little bit of consistency and present viewers that it's the same Abner Jenkins. Things like the logo on the belt, the bicep plating, the ab lining, and the boots showing his calves. Alright, that should be the last design for this video. Now we get to a few pictures containing interactions. This first one is Peter and Mary Jane walking through the halls of their high school, with Flash Thompson glaring at them in jealousy. Basically, she knows Peter is Spider-Man because she told him early on in his career. What's funny is when MJ gets excited seeing someone and runs to them, Flash assumes she was talking to him and is prepared to flirt with her, only for MJ to wrap her arms around Peter, and that's what a bully gets for harassing our protagonist. Last time I did my own take on the girl band The Mary Janes, containing MJ herself, Gwen Stacy, Liz Allen, and Felicia Hardy. This time, the group has different things going on in their own minds. MJ and Liz are talking about their crushes on Peter and Johnny Storm, with Gwen showing a bit of jealousy, and Felicia is basically like, "Am I the only one who thinks that we should be rehearsing our music?" I don't think I mentioned this in a previous video, but what I did with Peter, MJ, Johnny, and Liz was taken once again from Ultimate Spider-Man, from MJ being the first one Peter told he was Spider-Man, Johnny going to the same school with him, Liz having a crush on him and becoming his girlfriend, which leads her to become Firestar. I'll even show a bonus drawing of Johnny and Liz together for a bit. In closing this video, I'll show you a storyboarded concept of Peter giving a brief explanation on how his organic web shooters work. I don't think any movie, TV show, or comic has explained anything like that, so I saw this as an opportunity to try it. Since my style is anime-influenced, and the tone is whimsical, I thought it would make sense for him to explain it in an imaginary background. I think even a lot of whimsical anime do things like that. But anyway, I'll let you do the reading. Alright, that's it for this video. Thank you for taking the time to watch it, and, again, the 300 subscribers. If it wasn't for you, I wouldn't be here today. Looking forward to show more Marvel characters I drew. See you later.